Alrighty then. Today, this is... Fuck, what episode is this now? I don't fucking know what episode this is. I'm losing my mind in quarantine. I'm fucking insane. But today we're going to be looking at Vanguard's Disruptor. Looking at... So this is a Guardian player. This is a in-house from a Discord that I'm part of. And I'll link the New Meta Podcast Discord at the bottom of this video. But... No, let's just hop right into it, and then we can start talking about it. The first thing that I've noticed, just looking at items, is there's not really that much slot efficiency. So, let's take a look. Just fast forward through this. Alright. So, first thing we want to check out is starting items. Now, who gave tangos to mid? Alright. 2 tangos to mid is usually very, very preferable. I think if you don't give 2 tangos to mid, that's usually griefing. I love these banners, by the way. Holy shit, they're so good. So starting Q, let's see. I don't want to obviously overwhelm you too much with stuff. I think in this particular matchup, I would wait to see what Legion is leveled first, level 1. I mean, she's likely going to go Q, but it's just a good habit to get into to see. Like, if Legion had gone overwhelming odds to purge Thunderstrike, then this Thunderstrike wouldn't be very value, and it would be more value to go Kinetic Field, because you wouldn't be able to do any damage with the spell. So just a good habit to get into. In terms of starting items, I think this lane, so what do we, we're Ursa Disruptor against Legion Commander Phoenix. So getting to the start of every game as position 5 is pretty important to think, okay, if I'm going to try and run at these guys, how do I want to play the lane? So what's gonna happen if you say you try and I know how to say it. Your main objective here is to shut down Legion. The most lanes want to shut down the core in the lane. So you have to think to yourself, how can I pressure this Legion? If I right click her and use spells on her, that's one way of pressuring her. But what will her support do if I try and do that? And the Phoenix will throw Fire Spirits at me if I try and right click the Legion and throw my spells at the Legion. So there isn't really much you can do about Fire Spirits other than just simply out-regen it. So I like that you've gone for this. I don't like the salve. This isn't a very burst damage oriented lane. I really don't think you need salve. You could get branches. You could get fairy fires. You could get a stick. You could get a bunch of other like slow healing items. More healing over time items as opposed to burst heal, because this lane really won't burst you. If anything, I would suggest in this lane, if I were playing this, I would go 2 sets of tangos, probably, what would I want to go? You've got 600 gold. I definitely wouldn't go salve. I would get a sentry. You know, I actually can't think about this properly. Where's my Grimstroke game I played the other day? What did I go? No, I went boots in that lane. That's not a good lane to look at, because I can't remember how much you can get for how many items you spend as a support. What did I go when I won? So I went tangos, salve, mangoes, double branch. Okay. So I would probably go this, and instead of a salve, I would have 2 fairy fires, because both these heroes are fairly low armor. Legion only, like for an offlaner, Legion has quite low armor. And Phoenix only has 1 armor as well. So I'd say definitely I would look to prioritize just trading with right clicks in this lane. You don't really get punished for trading with right clicks in this lane. Some heroes like... What are heroes that are really punished? Some heroes like Mars, if you try and right click a Mars, that typically means you're close enough to get speared to a tree and feed. So typically against Mars lanes, you want to be very careful right clicking. Other lanes to be very careful right clicking are Pangolier lanes, because once Pangolier hits level 4 or 5, they'll probably be strong enough to kill you if you overextend too far just to mindlessly right click them. So yeah, I think I think I would definitely look to replace that salve with probably 2 fairy fires, get 2 branches out, get an early magic wand, get early boots, and just apply pressure to the lane that way.
Time to get angry with each other.
Marco's here applying pressure with his booties. So, typically you won't need the ward in your safe lane. It's much better, like, typically it's better to have a sentry ward in your safe lane. I would only get a ward in the safe lane if I was going to say a Pudge or Mirana or heroes that you really, really need to see vision of them, otherwise they can threaten you. But you don't really need to see Phoenix in this lane, because your spell naturally provides vision anyways, right? So, you'd only need vision in a lane if you're worried someone's leaving the lane a lot, maybe rotating mid, maybe if you had no mechanisms of getting vision to trade, but you do have mechanisms of getting vision to trade, because Thunderstrike is vision. I'm trying to think what else I want to talk about. I used to be a big Disruptor player, but it escapes me. So, it's also very important, as a position 5, to think to yourself, who likes the lane static, and how does your... No, sorry. The first thing is, what does your carry want to do in this lane, right? So you've got an Ursa, fairly aggressive in lane. I imagine Hayden probably has an Orb of Venom. Okay, no Orb of Venom. If I was playing this lane, I would probably have an Orb of Venom just run at these guys, level 1. But typically Ursa, in a lane, he's going to be playing very, very aggressively. He's going to run people down. So if he wants to run people down, that means your lane favors having more distance between where the creep waves are meeting and the opposition tower. So your lane naturally favors a lane equilibrium that is basically right outside your tower, so that Hayden on the Ursa can just box people out and just fucking beat the living shit out of them. So now that we know that, your decisions with regards to pulling and contesting creep waves that get pulled are all going to be based on, if I do X, will it put the wave in front of my tower? Because in this lane, we want the wave in front of our tower so that we can run at people and kill them. So that means for this lane, you wouldn't necessarily do a 115 single pull, because single pulls are all about splitting the lane. So in this particular lane, you'd look to get a stack up at 154 on the small camp, and then push out the wave with your Ursa, and then go pull the 215 wave. That's your like ideal wave permutation here. Other lanes, say like weaker lanes like Spectre, I don't know, Spectre Lich versus like Mars. What's a kill threat for? Like Mars Spectre Lich versus like Mars Snapfire. You typically want to just continually single pull in lanes like that. Single pull and like make sure the enemy doesn't get stacks off on the hard camp, and just fuck with the wave, honestly. And you just single pull every minute. So now Hayden's reset the wave up here. So let's look at what you've done in this first wave. And let's see your mana usage as well. Let's see who you're pressuring and why you're pressuring. So I certainly think you could be a lot more aggressive. You've come with the lane with a lot of regen. I would kind of want to just see you throwing your spells off whenever it's on cooldown. Like, this is what, 10 seconds? 20 seconds? Or you could have just Thunderstrike Legion Commander. Like, this is a Legion Phoenix is a particularly weak lane, level 1. And Disruptor is probably one of the more annoying heroes in the game in terms of damage output level 1 as a support. So it's really important that you leverage that and you don't give this guy room. Like, you want to be forcing this salve out as early as possible. You want to just be like the most, like Ursa doesn't need you to help him CS here, right? You could be standing here while this Legion Commander is farming creeps, and you could be throwing out spells. And then if Phoenix tries to run over and hit you, then okay, you back. But if this Phoenix isn't gonna hit you back, then my God, I want to see you like. I want to see you fucking throwing spells out like nobody's business, honestly. So Legion gets boxed out. Again, I think you're playing way too passively on the Disruptor. I think you positioning up here shows that you're scared to trade when you're particularly strong right now. And so I'd really just like to see you be in their face. They don't have much slows and much ways to kill you level 1. And even if you do somehow have an egregious misplay in positioning, they don't have enough burst damage to just or stuns even, to stop you from just TPing back to base. So I would really, really, really like to see you just posturing a lot more aggressively in this lane, and understanding that you're quite a strong hero right now. Again, I think you've decided to ferry yourself out this early boots, but boots aren't even really required in this lane. Yeah, you got these boots, and you saved money for it, but boots are good in lanes where the move speed helps you. In this game, in this lane, move speed doesn't help you because you're not threatened by them getting on top of you because you have TP. Boots are very important against lanes where you can either completely out-trade them by kiting them, or if they have kill threat if they get on top of you. Here, they don't really have kill threat if they get on top of you. So I'd much rather prefer to have seen maybe like a stick, maybe even a Hedrus, and you just like sustain the lane for your Ursa. Obviously Hedrus rush isn't great, but I think Hedrus in a lane like this is pretty pog. I mean, boot early arcanes is great, but like I'd still... You're missing maybe 5, 6 wand charges already by not getting... in the next minute, just by not getting a... maybe 5, 6 is too much, maybe 4 or 5. By not getting a stick. Stick is probably one of the best items in the game. I think if you're not going it as a support, something's going horribly wrong, or the enemy team literally just doesn't have spells to cast in lane, which is very, very unlikely. So again, I think wait. You've also not moved over to the small camp in this time frame as well. A really good support habit to get into is as soon as it reaches 1 minute, you go over and check the small camp, and that you ferry yourself out a sentry, like to arrive at you for that roughly 1 minute mark. So then you know if this is blocked, you put the sentry down and get a free D ward, and if this isn't blocked, then there's a very high likelihood of there being a ward further in the lane, and this sort of region over here, or typically this middle area. There are typically a lot of free D wards in this area. So I think not getting yourself a sentry in this lane is going to hurt your ability to keep wave equilibrium, or lane control rather, and that limits a lot of your aggression. Again, a big no-no for most supports in the game as well. If you find yourself at 100% mana in a lane as a support, something's probably going horribly wrong. 100% mana as a support means that you're not using your spells anywhere near the amount that you should be. And this lane, and I did talk about it earlier as well. So you need to punish this guy for not going press the attack level 1. You should actually just be like non-stop pepping this guy with spells, and only when you're pressured do you back off. Because you're not casting your spells, your Ursa's always under pressure of being traded, because you're not playing aggressively enough. Likewise, you also haven't pulled in this lane. Quite frankly, this is being real. If you weren't in this lane, the Ursa may be winning the lane. Because right now, you're soaking experience and are not putting out anywhere near enough damage output or securing anywhere enough creeps to justify your presence in the lane. That may sound a bit harsh, but it is very important to realize that. As a support, it's very easy to grief your carrier's game if you don't do enough. And so it's a great skill to learn when you're having impact in the lane and when you're not. Again, you're playing really, really far back. Like I want to see you in this guy's face, like, right? If you and Ursa are going on Legion here, this might be a dead Legion. But because you're so far back, you're like all the way over here. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. You're actually just like, this is playing so scared. I'm not gonna go on for too much more, but like, the lack of aggression in this lane is really, really hurting you. I think there's more spells to be cast, there's more right clicks to be right-clicked, there's more waves to be pulled, there's more wards to be dewarded. I really, really want to see you like using all of your health and mana, and really pushing the lane and really putting this guy under pressure. I would also I would typically lead with Thunderstrike before going with for the E. Thunderstrike applies a mini slow, and that can be sometimes that can be the difference between getting your kinetic field on top of them or not. Or it makes at least it makes it a little bit easier. So. Again, your Ursa doesn't really need you to help CS. I would like to have seen you as soon as where is it? Oh, here we go. This is a slightly higher level trick. But, as a support, it's very important to keep track of when it's 5 minutes, because then you should instruct your core, and you yourself should apply this to lane. Is that typically you want to shove waves at 5 minute marks, such that you can approach here by the time it's 5 minutes and secure bounty runes, and then it's up to the opposition lane to make an opportunity cost between do they go to contest this bounty rune or do they miss all these creeps that you've just shoved under their tower. It's a really, really, really useful skill to learn as a support, and it can win you. It can basically win you the mid game if you secure enough early game bounce runes, or even your mid lane. If your mid lane is like 100 gold ahead, like the difference between winning and losing a game. Not always, but sometimes. So, and we're running into this issue now, where as a support and as a disruptor this game, this is a very difficult disruptor game, might I add. You're running into this issue where a lot of your impact, like this is great, but this could have been done like 4.5 minutes earlier, and then you get 100 gold 4.5 minutes earlier, and you also have a small camp pull. This small camp as a support is your best friend. You need to understand how useful the small camp is. This small camp is what allows you to reset the wave in front of your tower. It allows you to split the wave when you're in high pressure lanes and you just don't want to fight them. So say if you're against a lane that your carry really doesn't want to fight, then you're just going to keep single pulling. Because as long as you keep single pulling, the support is going to come and contest you. He's going to be like, oh, this guy's pulling. I'm gonna go mess with this disruptor over here. Meanwhile, this offlaner is probably going to have to decide, am I going to mess with the carry under his tower, or am I going to go get this wave of creeps that I'm missing? So again, it's like the more choices and confusion that you inflict upon opposition cores, it really contributes to making your lane far stronger. Because right now, this lane is hard. After level 4, when Legion gets a point in W on her, what's it called, overwhelming odds, a lot of your damage output and kill threat is lost if you didn't win the first few levels of the lane. So now Ursa's under a lot of pressure. And this could all be alleviated by applying early game pressure, pulling waves, and dewarding. And also a great indicator of you not using your mana anywhere near enough. If you start the game with 2 mangoes, or if you have mangoes on you in the laning stage, I expect to see those mangoes gone in like the next 2 minutes after buying them. Because that's the value of mangoes. Their HP regen isn't great. You're not buying mangoes for HP regen, you're buying mangoes for mana. So if you haven't used your mangoes, say, in 2 minutes, then you shouldn't have bought mangoes. So now this lane is basically lost because you've not applied enough pressure. So we're going to keep... and there really is no way to recover it at this point, unless like the opposition lane throws. So I'm going to start skimming through and seeing how you prep for the 10-minute wave. Alright, that was... interesting throw. I didn't think there was any way they could die in this lane, but I was proved wrong. Again, you could have a stick. I think this is really poor slot efficiency. Stick is amazing. A great high-level MMR tip that I've been seeing a lot of high-level supports do is they're typically around the 7-minute mark. They'll get probably a sentry, an observer ward, maybe even a smoke, and they'll look to get some kind of an aggressive ward over in this part of the map, or on this cliff, or they'll secure a ward round here to protect their carry while they go bot lane. But basically, 6 to 7 minutes is the time in the game where most wards have expired, and as a support, it should be like it should like pain you. It should pain you to see a dark map. So if I look at the dire, so right here, the entire enemy jungle is dark at 7 minutes. And this should like physically hurt you. You should want to cry. You should want to prostrate yourself to the gods and begging them. You want to be begging them to get vision over there. You want to be doing everything in your power to get vision over there. I don't even care if you walk up here and feed. Like, you want aggressive vision at this time, because this time, the 6 to 7 minute mark to like 7 to like 15 minutes, that's like the big swing mark of a lot of games, I want to say, especially lower MMRs. It's what can getting 1 or 2 extra kills in this time period is the difference between getting a tower at 10 minutes and getting a tower at 15 minutes. It's such a really big timing, and wards and aggressive warding, for that matter, is such an important part of playing good support. Like at this point, you're not really gonna kill anyone, right? Your carry, you haven't necessarily played the lane right, but your carry isn't under any immediate pressure. You could tell your carry, hey buddy, you can just farm this wave. I don't think they can kill you just yet till Legion hits 6 anyway. And this guy doesn't have mana, and this guy doesn't have this huge amount of damage anyway. I'm gonna go maybe stack a camp. Then I'm walking into the enemy jungle. I'm gonna go place a ward, and I'm gonna walk back, and then I'll go pull this stacked camp, and then I'm gonna leave your lane. I'm gonna go pressure bot lane. But as it stands now, you guys are like forcing. Now you guys are forcing aggressive posturing and like aggressive actions when it's very hard for you to play aggressively. You don't have CC. They out damage you guys right now, and you kind of like you've missed your timing. And it's important to realize when you guys miss. Oh my god, that fucking
Agents of the Void.
And another thing as well. Keep in mind that this Legion was on like 90% HP, 98 HP. You yourself using maybe one spell 40 seconds earlier could have been the difference between that Legion dying there or not, in terms of just your overall class. So I would like to see you with more mana. It's very important as a support to just ferry yourself out regen whenever you need. Rushing boots typically isn't that important in most lanes. I mean, some lanes obviously rushing boots is super important and you'll feed otherwise. I like this. You ferry yourself out mangoes. So the only thing that we could improve, but I would also like to see you ferry yourself out maybe another set of tangos as well. Okay, maybe not another set of tangos, but HP. I guess it's fine. I would actually like to see you go 2 mangoes and a salve. I think salves, you don't really have any aggressive posturing in this. Like, when you have wards, when you have camps to pull, when you have lanes that you want to go gank as a support, Clarity is your best friend. Because any time that you're moving from point A to point B, or stacking or pulling or whatever the hell, Clarities are the bomb. Because you're not fighting with anyone. So Clarities are just there, ticking up your mana. You know you're having a good game as a support is if the only time you have to go back to base is to feed, is to die. Or like or the only time that you go back to base is when you've died, right? Like, that's how you know you're having a good game as a support.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
So I think Clarities are super efficient. Clarities are honestly your best friend. Like, after 7-8 minutes, Clarities should just be like, you should always have a Clarity in your inventory, basically, as a support. They're just too good. I think in most lanes, I wouldn't opt for Arcane Boots unless, like, I 100% know that Aether Lens is going to be a game-winning item in terms of how team fights are progressing. Otherwise, I think Tranquil Stick is just, like, way better. Marco feed. Interesting. And I hope you see the level disparity in this lane as well. These two heroes are level 6, while you and Ursa are only level 5, simply because they've managed to make pulls and deny you experience, whilst you haven't. And that really is the difference between winning and losing a lane. They hit their power spike before you, and suddenly this lane is very hard. If Hayden on the Ursa here is level 6, before Legion's level 6, this is an entirely different fight. This is a dead Legion and potentially a dead Phoenix. So, again, I just want to call attention to just how important it is or how important these little things are in terms of winning or losing a lane. And a mark of a great support is someone that understands just how important these little things are. So not me, because I'm garbage.
I'll take that.
So I think we're just gonna start fast forwarding. Unfortunately, again, you're still trying to play top in a lane that's very difficult for you guys to play. This is just matchup understanding and power spike understanding. I don't think there's too much here to go through. This will come with playing and just general experience. I wouldn't feel pressure to go top here. If there are 3 heroes top that are very, very difficult for you to kill and you have no ultimate, I would say the next best thing you could do is play around probably... I would play for mismatches, and that's the thing you want to do as supports a lot. So if I know there's 3 heroes top lane, and as a disruptor there isn't much that I can do to these heroes since my spells are on cooldown, I would just walk bot. I would go walk bot, I would sit behind my DK, I would walk mid, I would sit with my Void Spirit, I would try and maybe force a TP. I would maybe force a TP here, maybe force a TP here. I'm like, oh, cool, we forced TPs. Now I'm going to go back top, and this is going to be a 2v2, or a 3v2 in our favor now, instead of a 2v3 and a 3v3. Which would be in their favor, because they have very strong teamfight heroes. Oh, free D ward. All right. Again, do you see when you're not strong why you're putting yourself in a position where you're like, as disruptor, you being here has no real value because you don't have your ultimate. So if you think about it like this, you're putting yourself in a dangerous position, a very aggressive position, without spells, which is only going to result in one outcome. You either die, or they're going to dive you, and they're going to kill your core, and there's going to be nothing you can do about it, because you have no spells. So very important to recognize power spikes, and when you can show up to certain fights. But again, all this comes with experience. There's nothing too crazy here. But now the enemy team's got a 4k net worth lead, and this game gets very hard. So we're going to look at your team fight positioning, and start focusing on team fights now. So I'm just going to skim through. Again, I think your item efficiency has been very poor this game. I certainly think you could have... I think by this point in the game, you could have, like, Magic Wand, Tranquils, Windlace, and probably start building a Bracer. And I think you probably have much more impact in team fights by not just instantly feeding. When someone sees you. Because we have a lot of gap close on our team, the Radiant team, that I was playing on. So it's quite scary for you. So you feel pressure to play this part of the lane, but like, because you came here earlier and died, you felt like there was nothing you could do. So this is just recognizing, when am I strong? Like if I had been you earlier, or just now before you TP'd, when you respawned, and I was like, oh, I've got ulti now, cool, I'm gonna go top, because I've got ulti. Now I have impact. Now I can do stuff as a disruptor. I can do damage. Yeah, I can silence people. I can do shit with my team.
Bad dude's top tower's gonna fall over soon. Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire structures.
But yeah, now this game is very hard because and a lot of this is stemming from you. There's a ton we can do here to make this game a lot easier. So again, I just want to put this in perspective. Imagine if we pulled. Imagine if we'd won top lane. The Radiant team wouldn't be able to make such an aggressive move. Imagine if you hadn't died a couple times, maybe. If we had made this dive move while you were sitting in these trees, I, as a Slark or whoever was diving this tower, maybe they would have died because you would have got both you would have been safe in trees, and you would have got kinetic field up, and you would have got your static storm up, and Bob's your uncle. Suddenly, that's a core kill in your favor. Even with how badly everything here is going, the outcomes of these fights could change based on very little things. So in this case, that one TP made this fight not at all in your favor, because you need to remember, as a support, you are still a very, very strong hero. This is your level 6 power spike, and you need to understand that you're a strong hero. Obviously, you're still gonna pop like fucking balloon, like a balloon if someone finds you, but if you position properly, it doesn't matter. I like that you're shifting bot now. This is good. You understand that this top area of the map is safe. But I would like to see you make a more concise effort to ward up this bot part of the map. I think if I look at this. If I look at this is kind of unacceptable as a Pulse 5. If you're a Pulse 5 and you see like 10 sentries and like two observers in base, that should be an indicator to you that you're not getting enough vision out on the map. You're not securing the map for your team. And as a Pulse 5, after the laning stage is done, your #1 priority. And we were talking about this earlier at the 7-minute mark, getting that early ward down because it can settle out of your tempo. But for the rest of the game after the laning stage, when you're basically useless and just food for the enemy team, apart from casting spells in team fights, the vision game is your best friend. I want to be seeing wards in. I want to be seeing one ward in your jungle protecting your team. I want to see one ward securing a rune. I want to see one ward securing bot lane. Like,
Yo, green dude,
we've only got
something
this
bad is
one
happening
ward, and it
in your
makes
bottom.
it's making your team's aggressive moves and aggressive options very, very difficult because they don't have this information. If we were to
Never refuse gold.
if we were to pause and compare the vision game on both teams, let's take a look at the Radiant. Right. We have 2 wards in your jungle. 2 aggressive wards, aggressive posturing wards that will inform us where you guys are playing. We know you're all playing bot lane based on these 2 wards. And that makes our game very easy, right? My Legion will know to save TP. I, as a Slark, will know to play scared. I'll ask my Witch Doctor to start heading bot when he respawns. We'll see what decisions we make based on the fact that we know nobody's top. Like, the reason that I'm not trading this Dragonite is because inherently I know there are heroes missing on the map, and that I need to be careful. Maybe your Ursa could make similar aggressive judgments if he had these wards up. This is scary, but I like it. I like it. As the Pulse 5, you kind of just need to get this shit done, like when you've lost map control, and it's very, very important. I would still be buying more wards. I'd be buying way, way more wards. I'd have like 3 sentries on me right now, 2 obs, honestly.
Wait for it.
I think that that static storm was very, very slow. I like your positioning. I think your positioning is good, but I think this is just a mechanical execution here. Right here. I'm not sure if you're in range of this spell. Yeah, you were in range of the spell. Slark cannot leap out of kinetic field, so as soon as I pop my ulti here, since I'm on the Slark, I would love to see you instantly drop kinetic field and instantly drop your ulti. I think I basically die here if you do. Like, if this static storm is like landing here properly, like, always, if you can, lay static storm on top of kinetic field. It's too important.
Tower is under attack.
Like, this gives me options. I mean, I still die here, but like, this should be a secure kill right here. And if I was a slightly more slippery hero, even though I am a fish boy, then okay, this is poor positioning. I think you got lucky here. You should have died. If I was a slightly more slippery hero, you lose a kill for your team because of just poor button pressing.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower is under attack.
I think at this point the game is basically over. Most teams will struggle to recover from a 7k network deficit at 17 minutes, so I don't think there's too much more to go through. I just sort of rehash what we were talking about. So, pulls are your best friend. Very, very important to have a sentry on you by the 1 minute mark to check if this camp is blocked, and if it is blocked, you get a free D ward. If not, just throw the sentry somewhere over here, or maybe try and trade with the 4 and see if you can bait them out into attacking you where they shouldn't have vision or something like that. Because again, a free D ward is like 100 gold. So, I mean, that's like 50 gold in your favor, or like, I don't know, 30 gold in your favor, just off like, that's like an extra creep. You've manifested gold out of thin air because you're an amazing support player. That's one of the things you can do. So yeah, pulls very important. Definitely cast your mana way more. I want to see much more aggression in terms of spell usage. Item build up. We're not using our slots anywhere near efficiently enough. If I have 6 item slots, I want to be shoving whatever the fuck in those item slots that I can. I want to be throwing random items here and there. Windlace is your best friend. Stick, your best friend. Sentries, wards, smokes, dust. Who gives a fuck if they even have invis? Okay, actually do give a fuck if they have invis. Raindrop is super underrated. Hedris and Bassi, again, also really. I think Hedris was busted, but I think people still like I don't think people realize when to go headrest in a lot of 5 lanes. I certainly don't. It feels really greedy sometimes, but yeah. Uh, if you implement all of these changes, you'll easily hit Legend Ancient. Or in terms of skill, in terms of just your laning stage. I think there's a lot to improve here, and this top lane could have gone in your favor had you guys played the first 5 minutes right, but because you didn't, it was very, very difficult. So yeah, that's it from me.